AT&T customers are hit with a massive outage, Verizon Wireless being included as well. Some people even not being able to call 911. We're going to cover all this and more today here on this special edition episode of Speechless. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Ferris, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, the radio show. But not everything I talk about makes it onto the radio show, right? And so I bring it right here to you guys on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, wherever you guys are watching from. And thank you so much for tuning in. And I found this to be quite an interesting and necessary show to bring up today, for a multitude of reasons. Well, many of you might not know, I don't usually do shows on Tuesday evenings. It is Tuesday. And that's because I work during the week. I actually was working all day today. I had very little time to prep for this show, but I did get some fascinating, I still scroll through social media sometimes throughout my day, and I find some fascinating stories to bring to you guys. And I might still have some of my Breakaway USA crew showing up throughout, not 100% sure, but I will let you know. Of course, we will all know if they do. And before I get into the topics of today, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, and make sure that you reshare this video too. If you're on Twitter right now, especially, reshare this video. I'd really appreciate it. And share it with your friends. Comment things you think. I'll bring them up on screen. We'll talk today, because even if I don't have a guest on or anything, you can be a part of the conversation. If you leave a comment, I'll bring it up on screen and we'll talk about it. And we have a lot to talk about today. For example, like I said, AT&T customers were hit with a nationwide service issue. We're going to talk about that. We also have some updates in the Trump case. Is the RNC preparing to nominate Trump even if he is in jail? Dr. Phil comments. Hunter Biden has been in court the last few days, and his wife just went crazy. The Biden administration hands out millions of work permits to new illegal immigrants despite a 180-day waiting rule. His campaign seems to be just as hypocritical as the man himself. We're going to be talking about a trans athlete, CNN's gender insanity, and maybe the true origins of COVID-19 as The View sees it. All that and more today on Speechless. So like I said, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, and all that fun stuff. But let's start off with, like I said, the AT&T outage. Look, this is not the first time that we've seen a cellular outage in recent history. Just earlier this year, of course, we saw another outage. And did we ever really figure out what that was from? Did we really figure out what that was from? A constant question I have when it comes to things like this is, what happened? What happened? Because I never feel like we're told the full truth. We'll be told things like, oh my gosh, it was a solar flare, maybe a little bit, or like the sun did something, or that, oh man, somebody tripped and unplugged the wireless machine. Sorry. But the implications of this are much bigger, not only of personal security, but national security as well. And so we can take a look at that map, but I'm going to go to the article first here that I pulled up for this. AT&T customers are hit with a nationwide service issue earlier today. This was published at 5:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is June 4th today. AT&T customers hit with a nationwide service issue. AT&T said that an outage notification was sent to 911 call centers in error, and that 911 services are operating normally. Was it really? Let's see. AT&T customers faced service issues Tuesday, and that it impacted their ability to make calls to contacts on their carriers. While the issue with cellular service was ongoing, an AT&T spokesperson told Fox Business, quote, there is a nationwide issue that is affecting the ability of customers to complete calls between carriers. The carriers are working as quickly as possible to diagnose and resolve the issue. Nationwide 911 services are operating normally at this time, and our customers are not affected. We are working to correct a wireless impact notification that was sent in error to 911 call centers. So you're going to have 911 call centers and thus police departments that are sending out, sorry, we're not going to be able to take your calls apparently. And it's going to cause a mass panic. AT&T said as of 8 p.m. Eastern, the interoperability issue between carriers has been resolved. We collaborated with the other carrier to find a solution and appreciate our customers' patience during this period. The company believes the calls between AT&T customers weren't impacted by the service issues. Several law enforcement and emergency response centers from localities around the country posted on X, formerly Twitter, that they received communications from AT&T indicating that customers may not be able to call 911. What did I just say? And provided alternative phone numbers to contact until service is restored. According to AT&T's statement, that wireless impact notification was sent erroneously, and calls to 911 emergency lines shouldn't be impacted by the issue. The FCC said in a post on X that, quote, we are aware of reports that consumers in multiple states are unable to make wireless calls, and we are currently investigating. AT&T service issues comes after a broader cell network outage in February that lasted about 10 hours. The company said at the time that it believed the incident was caused by, quote, application and execution of an incorrect process used as we were expanding our network, not a cyber attack. Of course, it's not a cyber attack. The company later offered billing credits to customers who were impacted and potentially impacted by the outage in the amount of the average cost of a full day of service. AT&T said it would include one $5 credit per account on the impacted customer's AT&T wireless account. So then we go back to this map of the places that were actually affected. Major metropolitan areas. At least this is reported, and I will cite my source just so that we know. This is a map that was being reported by Nick Sortor, a verified account on Twitter, and shared by many others as well. And so what we believe to be the case is that many urban areas, places in which the most people are, were the ones that were most seriously affected. Now, while that could make sense from just a strictly logical point of view, wouldn't it also make sense that the people that would be most likely to be targeted by a cyber attack of some kind that would want to in some way interfere or give the impression of an interference with first responders, wouldn't you want to cause the most chaos by doing that in an urban area? Now, I don't know if this one was a cyber attack. They're going to claim it wasn't, just as much as they'll claim the last one was not a cyber attack. But we question, or we should question, even if neither were, the ability of a foreign nation or just simply an adversary to take us off the grid, take us off the ability to communicate with one another. What would you do? What would happen? If you weren't able to contact emergency services, if you didn't have access to cellular devices, if you weren't able to talk to relatives just even a few hours away, or heck, maybe you're in a city and you're not able to talk to your family from the suburbs, what is your plan? It might sound absolutely crazy to you, the fact that I'm bringing this up, but I feel like people do not realize the fragility in our society and the fragility we've created in our society by allowing ourselves to be so dependent on these devices and on our cellular devices. It is absolutely insane to me. We sit around and look, again, this might be something you forget about by tomorrow. But you want to know who's not forgetting about it? Whether or not they had anything to do with it? China, Russia, the Middle East, anybody else who might be a little bit out to get America? When we are the ones operating, basically, we're the central hub of telecommunications. And if we are the central hub of telecommunications, that basically means we are the central hub of communications, wireless networks, the businesses that control them. Don't you think we might be under strict scrutiny and even potential national security threats if somebody can get into our communication networks? Don't you think that could be a possibility? Don't you think? So what's your plan? And this is why I am so happy that I was involved in radio for a lot of my life. And then I'm pretty young, and so I still plan on being involved in radio because I understand how it works and I understand its importance. AM radio could save your life. I also will stand by the old man approach of having a landline for my entire life. Because okay, you could still take down. Some people might say, well, you could still take down phone towers or phone lines. Yes, but what would come first? The first thing to be attacked would be our cellular, our wireless, our satellites, and then our landlines. But you can't really attack radio, not in the same way. Not in the same way. It's a lot harder. Were you guys impacted by the outage today with AT&T? Were you? If you were impacted in any way, if you had a police department or a 911 call center that sent out a message saying you might not be able to call us, causing panic, let me know in the comments. Please, I'm interested. Maybe if you're interested, we could even bring you on the show and we could talk more about it. Could be quite interesting. Don't forget, if you're liking what you're seeing, to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. We're going to get on to other stories here briefly. I do see some great comments here, and I always want to make sure that I get to those. Our grid is very vulnerable to such attacks. Absolutely it is. People do not realize, and this is what I'm saying, people do not realize the fragility of our safety. And the people seem to think that somehow because we have big tanks and the largest military that we're automatically exempt and that we're just going to somehow be fine. That what's happening with Russia and Ukraine could never happen to us. Remember 9/11? I know there's a lot of conspiracy as to what actually went down on September 11th, 2001. But even with many of those conspiracies, people recognize that we are vulnerable. And the threat could even be domestic. It could. And we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit more later in the show. We have so much more to talk about here. We're going to talk soon about updates with Trump. Obviously, I talk a lot about Trump on this show, and what's been going. Obviously, mostly it's favorable. Mostly it's positive. This is going to be a little bit neutral, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it. We're going to talk about Dr. Phil even was discussing Trump soon. But is the RNC preparing for Trump to go to jail? What would happen if Trump goes to jail? And more. We're going to talk about that soon here, coming up after a quick word from our sponsors, Freedom 2.0. Here's that. Look, many know that I don't always love to only drink water during my live streams, but I do love Freedom 2.0, and I always have some of it next to me because, as my lovely, lovely girlfriend loves to tell me, is I need to drink more water. And so if I need to drink more water, and I'd like to consider myself as a pretty fit individual, but if I need to drink more water, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're literally flipping Aquaman out there. You probably need to drink more water too. And why drink some woke dipshit water when you could be drinking Freedom 2.0? I'm telling you today, guys, you should go buy some Freedom 2.0. You go to Amazon, Google Freedom 2.0. Freedom20.com/USA gets you 15% off. And so I will always drink more water. You guys should too. And I'm not just speaking about that like because they pay me. I'm doing it because it's actually good water. It's not made with fluoride. It's not going to turn you gay. It's not going to turn the frogs gay, and you're going to like it because I said so. Yes, fluoride turned the towers gay, and that's what shut down AT&T today. That was like a Dr. Seuss ride. Fluoride turned the towers gay, and that's what took down AT&T today. Yeah, I don't know. That was a pretty good one. All right, but let's get into the next story, everybody. And I do produce my own show. And so if that's why it seems like maybe I'm lagging at any time or anything like that, it's because I'm producing this right now. I'm like pulling it up all on my own screen. Cut me some slack. I love you guys, but cut me some slack. We're going to talk next about the RNC, the Republican National Committee. Love them or hate them, this story will interest you because it interests me. And I am oftentimes right. So, RNC out of the Daily Wire, the RNC is preparing for the possibility of Trump being in jail during the convention. Of course, obviously, many of you know, we've been covering it on Breakaway USA. We've been covering it on my show, just on Speechless. The conviction of Donald J. Trump, the first time a president has ever been convicted of a felony. And so the RNC is preparing just because it's right after, the RNC is right after his apparent sentencing. They're preparing for the possibility that Trump could be in jail. Organizers for the GOP National Convention next month in Milwaukee are preparing for the possibility that former President Trump will be in jail when he receives his party's nomination, according to the Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Whatley. Judge Juan Merchan has scheduled sentencing in the middle of July, 4 days before the start of the Republican convention. And now, if you didn't already realize that this was a political hit job, then maybe that tells you something. 4 days before the start of the Republican convention, that's when they're deciding to sentence Trump. I could see Juan Merchan saying, we're going to give you 1 week in jail just so you can't actually show up. But don't worry, RNC officials on Newsmax said they expect Trump to be in Milwaukee to accept the nomination, but are working on a plan for if he is in jail. We will make whatever contingency planning we need to make for it. But the fact is, he is going to be our nominee, and he is going to be the 47th president of the United States. Let's take a look and a listen to exactly what was said on Newsmax right here.
Next month, and your nominee could be sentenced to actual jail time 4 days before everything kicks off in Milwaukee. Have you planned for that at the RNC?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. I'm actually going up to Milwaukee this week, and we're going to have a series of conversations. But look, we expect that Donald Trump is going to be in Milwaukee, and he's going to be able to accept that nomination. And if not, we will make whatever contingency planning we need to make for it. But the fact is, he's going to be our nominee, and he's going to be the 47th president of the United States.
Can you talk about those contingency plans?
No, I think that right now we're in the process of putting everything together for us having a great convention. It's going to be an opportunity to roll out his vision for America. You know, at the end of the day, this goes back to why are we running? Right. We are running because America is weak. Our economy is weak. Our standing in the world is weak. Our southern border is wide open. We've had 10 million illegal immigrants come across the southern border, and we need to be strong like we were under Donald Trump and as we're going forward with him as the 47th president.
So this is going to be talked about between now and the start of the convention, certainly now in sentencing day, which is July 11th. And I know the narrative out there is that for whatever reason, Judge Merchan is not going to sentence Donald Trump to real jail time, but he certainly could. Let's say Donald Trump is given a year-long sentence or a 6-month sentence or something to the effect of what you just heard, which I don't think is going to happen. Is there any way that Donald Trump is not nominated at the RNC in July in Wisconsin?
Look, I don't want to go into a lot of hypotheticals. We'll cross that bridge.
Well, you sort of have to go into this stuff.
Well, we certainly will be planning on it. We'll be thinking about it, and we're working on that right now. But what we want to do is we want to have a show that is going to roll out Donald Trump and his vision for America, which is going to set up this election cycle. The American people are going to select the next president, and they're going to select Donald Trump because he is going to make America great again.
Final question. I just want to move on from that, but let's say Trump is behind bars, and again, it is a possibility. Would he make a speech from prison? Would he make a speech before sentencing day? Just something that you could play during the RNC? Are those contingencies being thought about, considered, and planned for?
Everything is being thought about. Everything is being considered at this point in time. We will have to wait and see kind of what the courts present us with the opportunity to do. But look, Donald Trump will communicate directly with the American voters the way that he always does.
Oh, believe me, Mr. Chairman, I can feel the audience right now upset that I'm asking these questions, but I have to ask them just because we are in such uncharted territory. Let's talk about the Democratic National Convention. According to multiple reports, and this is just leave it to the Democrats, they have passed several new rules that will allow Joe Biden to be nominated virtually. Basically, what we saw in 2020 because of the pandemic. Politico reporting that, quote, Biden's top advisors are all too aware of the ghosts of 1968. Some in Biden's orbit are aggressively pushing to make the 2024 conclave a hybrid production. The goal, drive maximum television viewership while minimizing the openings for anti-Israel protesters. What do you think that's really all about?
I think it's about the fear of the protests. I also think it's about the fear of having Joe Biden on the air for any extended period of time. They want to try and hide him. That's their entire campaign plan, is they're going back to the basement like they did in 2020. He just is not able to communicate directly with the American people, so they're going to do it as a studio production.
And is the RNC critical of a move like that?
Look, we're going to let them do what they want to do. What we're going to do is we're going to roll out Donald Trump. We're going to roll out the Republican vision for America. We expect that this convention is going to be a fantastic opportunity to show just everybody in the world across the and across the country the Republican vision and where Donald Trump stands.
So obviously, you see that the RNC is very, very intent on nominating Donald Trump. Of course they would be. He's very popular. And I think that part of that is exactly what I am getting told, what we're seeing right here in the comment section. Everybody, you can go comment right now as well if you are interested. But like Ryan Maxshow says, imagine doing a convention speech from a prison cell. Hashtag MAGA, the biggest, most beautiful prison. The biggest, most beautiful prison cell ever made. You know, it might be a little cold and damp, but I will say, they make it nice for your former and future president, Donald J. Trump. But that's exactly, honestly, I think Trump would love that. And here's why. And I said it last night on our show. I believe I said it on Sunday on my show, is that Donald Trump would not mind going to prison. He even said so. He said so. Donald Trump would not mind going to prison. Why? Because he gets convicted and he raises $200 million. If he goes to jail, you bet that money and that support skyrockets even more. People are realizing the insanity that this is. They absolutely are. And as mentioned, sentencing is scheduled for July 11th. Legal experts doubt the 77-year-old will end up being placed behind bars, given that he had no criminal record prior to the conviction, though Secret Service has reportedly coordinated with local jail officials just in case. 3 other criminal matters on the state and federal levels hang over Trump as he seeks re-election this year, prompting the future, or the former president, I was going to say future, which he is, but the former president say he's a victim of a politically motivated witch hunt, which he is, and it is unclear whether any of those will reach the trial stage before the November election. But Trump can run despite his conviction. Of course, we know that. I've covered it on this show plenty of times. But many people are taking speculation on what they think about the Trump trial and the Trump conviction and the potential of him going in his jail, or I say in his jail. It's his jail because he'll be the president once again. But one person that is making a lot of waves in terms of and going moderately viral because of his discussion of the Trump verdict is Dr. Phil, who on Twitter yesterday, posted, I don't advocate voting for one candidate over another. I stay in my lane, addressing human behavior collectively and culturally, focusing on how we can have maximum control in our lives and turn back this ship of a state called America in the right direction, getting her back on track so we can be proud. That's my mission. This is a call to action to save our collective soul and sanity. So take a look and a listen. We're going to react and talk about Dr. Phil's discussion of the Trump verdict here.
I wanted to share my final thought about this. This weaponization of our great institutions, the FBI, Justice Department, and individual states' similar institutions, will lead to one of 2 outcomes. One is more of the same from the other side, tit for tat. That may seem deserved, but it is not the right way forward for America. The other is what I call on you to demand from your politicians today, an end to this craziness in order to save the soul and sanity of our country. The Pope has actually given us the right approach in his new book when he says, we are all brothers and sisters, and there must be no resentment among us. For any war to truly end, forgiveness is necessary. That is true of any war, including our current cultural war. We need our Justice Department to return to the business of meting out justice and not running the political agendas of those currently in power, blindly seeking convictions, warranted or otherwise, and attacking political opponents. That requires a very few important things from each of you, from all of us. Finding your voice, forgiveness, and focus on the way forward. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgiveness, and at the same time requiring better. We are not some banana republic, for God's sakes. What are we going to do next? Have a Putin poisoning posse and start finding political opponents foaming at the mouth at home, not so mysteriously dying in their lazy boy recliners? We're better than that. We must be better than that. I don't like what I see happening in our country. This kind of thing is exactly why I launched Merit Street Media and wrote We've Got Issues. I don't like seeing the weaponization of our justice system, agencies, and powerful government actions that frankly just make my skin crawl for all of us and for my grandchildren. And let's be honest, this is so not just about Trump. If you let your hatred for Donald Trump compromise your ability to find true north on your moral compass, shame on you.
Wow, this is an absolutely, I honestly can't believe that this is what I'm hearing from Dr. Phil, somebody who has held a mainstream TV show for quite a long time. And while I've covered Dr. Phil on this show before, and he has shown to be a relatively, I don't even want to say conservative, because not entirely conservative, but advocate for very common sense approaches to things. It's interesting to hear him come even further out and make Christian messages a part of what he has to say, further with not only just Christian messages, but also a message that is in not directly supporting Trump, but more so supporting Trump's side than that of Biden, the quote unquote weaponization of the Justice Department. And this is how you know that the branding from conservatives, the branding from Republicans is what's winning right now. Everybody, the branding from conservatives and Republicans is what is winning. Because the left is trying to frame this. The words that they are trying to frame in your head, the way that they are trying to program you is with the words, two words: convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. You could go look, if you look up right now, actually, I'm positive I could do it while we are reacting to this. I could show you on Twitter. If we look up convicted felon, because there was multiple that said that's what we want to say. If we see on here, you get people that say convicted felon. Let's find here. I'm seeing all these ones say the Trump one, but I know that there are people that are talking about being a convicted felon, and it's not just conservatives. Because there's some great posts here. But I know that there are people that are talking about convicted. Here we go. Here's Adam Schiff. Let's see what Adam Schiff has to say. Last week, Donald Trump became a convicted felon. First 2 seconds in there. Other people with a lot more poll, again, lefties, are bringing up the idea of conviction. Wow, Adam Schiff seems to be like one of the main ones in here. But no, there are other people that are saying convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. I'm not even like trying to lie to you guys here. I'm trying to find a liberal that's talking about it, but that is the position of lefties, is call everyone a convicted felon, or call Trump a convicted felon. That's what they're trying to do. I'm trying to find the lefties. I really know that there were some that said convicted felon, convicted felon. There was a guy, I'm pretty sure his Twitter is like dad of some kind, or he calls himself a dad. I don't know. I'm trying to find it. I know that there was every lefty. Here we go. All blue in 2024. No convicted felon. Yeah, convicted felon. It's all about being a convicted felon. That's what they're trying to frame him as. But even the conservatives are taking over the convicted felon stance. And they're also winning on the narrative side of calling of, like, you can see there's here's the Republican voters against Trump. They're trying to say, I won't vote for a convicted felon. I won't vote for a convicted felon. But then you have conservatives who are trending. If you look up convicted felon, it's all about conservatives. I'm voting for a convicted felon. I will vote for a convicted felon. Look at this this young lady who and what she has to say about, and I haven't seen this yet, so content warning, but oh, I believe that my audio stopped working. Give me one moment and I will bring it back up here so we can check this out.
Floyd, a 9-time convicted criminal. The left can praise George Floyd, a 9-time convicted criminal, and build a statue in his name, then I can vote for Donald Trump, the convicted felon. If the left can forgive Bill Clinton for cheating on his wife, then I can vote for Donald Trump, a convicted felon. If the left can...
The convicted felon. And I'm sure there's more, and I'm sure she does it amazing. But I want to get back to, I just wanted to point out how even conservatives are controlling the narrative on the idea of a convicted felon. And I want to get back to Dr. Phil here. But before we get to that, with the convicted felon, with the idea of the narrative, I want to quickly discuss the true story. This is a story that I had a Democrat professor in college right before I graduated. And he always told this story. He was a political science professor. And he always told this story how in 2016, when he was a professor, they sent like 5 students, Illinois State University, they sent like 5 students to the RNC and 5 students to the DNC. And they had them both go and they had them come back. And he knew that once both the candidates were nominated, Hillary and Trump, he knew, my Democrat professor used to be the chairman of our local county Democrats in central Illinois. He said he knew that Donald Trump was going to win. He wasn't happy about it, but he knew. And you want to know why? Is because when the students came back, he said, what was the message of the convention? And the Republicans, the students that went to the Republican National Convention, they came back and they said, the message was make America great again. All of them said it. Make America great again. As the DNC students came back and they said, I'm with her. She's the man, or all these different affordable health care, women's rights, reproductive rights. They all came back with different things. There was not a consensus, as every RNC person came back and said, MAGA, make America great again. And so that is how you want to know how you win an election. Look, yes, of course, there's money. There's all the issues and everything that's going on and how happy people are. Yeah, sure, all that has to do with it. But you want to know really what it is? It's messaging and communication. How well do you control the narrative with your communication? How well? And Donald Trump and his campaign and his supporters are doing a great job so far, to the point of which you have people like Dr. Phil, who himself says, I stay out of encouraging people to vote one way or the other. That's not what he's trying to do here. He's simply pushing the message of the weaponization of government. And that's exactly what the Trump campaign wants. So let's continue.
If you let your disgust for Biden make you blind to the inevitable consequences of pursuing revenge, then God help the children who will inherit the dystopian nightmare we create. We need leaders who will pledge to end this vicious cycle right now and return us to that safe place where our institutions are no longer bastardized and weaponized, but rather simply serve their intended purpose. We have serious problems to solve, and it will take serious people to solve them. Men and women who we hold accountable for doing that which they were selected or hired to do. They need to know we are watching, and their positions are privileges, not legacies. They work for us until they don't. I'm not into politics. I claim no expertise, nor do I seek any. I don't advocate voting for one candidate over another. I stay in my lane addressing human behavior collectively, culturally, and am focused on how we can have maximum control in our lives and turn this ship of state called America in the right direction and get her back on track so we can be proud. That's my mission, and this is a call to action to save our collective soul and sanity. This is also a call to redemption, healing, and forgiveness that leads to peace among us all, which is the most important gift we can share in our dangerous world. The current administration could and should do the right thing. Dismiss now, even now, post-conviction of a political opponent, all such lawfare, and pledge to return to the normal functioning of a government rightly run. God bless you all, and God bless these United States of America.
Absolutely. And once again, like he said, these people need to work for us. Whether that's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Ted Cruz, your congressman, my congressman, they need to work for us, and we should expect that. Dr. Phil is absolutely right. And as he said near the end, he's not advocating for one candidate or the other. He's advocating for America. And while it is favorable to the Republicans to have the narrative, the true narrative, but still the narrative of the weaponized Justice Department, Dr. Phil is stating it because it is true, not because he's a shill, because he's paid for. No, because it's true. And a lot of Americans see it too. They do. A lot of Americans see it too. And that's how you see all these small dollar donations going and ramping up the Trump campaign. This is how you see polling seeming to go in many ways in favor of Donald Trump, even since the conviction, or at least not necessarily hurting him. This is why you see that. So what do you guys think, though? Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, all that fun stuff. Please let me know. I'm always interested in what you guys have to say. Coming up soon, we're going to talk about a few other different stories. We're going to talk about the Biden admin handing millions of work permits out to new illegal immigrants despite a 180-day waiting rule. We're also going to talk about Hunter Biden being in court, Hunter's wife, and so much more. Make sure you don't miss a minute of this, guys. Don't forget to, like I said, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. Real quick, though, we are going to take a break to shout out Freedom 2.0. Here are they.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some Freedom 2.0. Man, the Constitution is awesome. That's what it is.
Yes, everybody, Freedom 2.0. Freedom 2.0 is awesome. Go check them out. freedom20.com/USA. Get 15% off. Support them. Support me. Support us here at Breakaway USA. Thank you so much for watching. Like I always say, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, all that fun stuff. But now let's get on into the next story about Hunter Biden. And I'm going to go. I know oftentimes I use conservative sources for my news. And so I figured, you know what, I'd shake it up and I'd use the AP, the Associated Press. We'll talk about some things with the Associated Press because, you know, while they might be mainstream media, I'm smart enough, and I believe you're smart enough to realize when they're being stupid. And we'll call it out right here. But let's talk about the Hunter Biden story. Prosecutors spend the first day of testimony in Hunter Biden's gun trial detailing his drug problems. Well, maybe they should. We're going to get into federal prosecutors on Tuesday painted President Joe Biden's son Hunter as deceptive and driven by addiction. A man whose dark habits ensnared loved ones and who knew that what he was doing when he lied on a federal form to purchase a gun in 2018. Jurors also got their first look at the document. Bring it up larger here. The document at the center of the case, and Hunter Biden's attorney argued that his client did not believe he was in the throes of addiction when he stated in the paperwork that he did not have a drug problem. In the short time he had the gun, he did nothing with it, and the weapon was never even loaded. Attorney at Abby, I'm sure that's Abby, it's just spelled in a stupid way. Abby Lowell said in his opening statement, Oh, it's a he named Abby? I'm confused. That's doesn't matter. Anyway, you will see he is not guilty, Lowell said. Hunter Biden has been charged with 3 felonies stemming from the purchase of a Colt revolver when he was, according to his memoir, addicted to crack. He has been accused of lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, making a false claim on an application by saying he was not a drug user and illegally having the gun for 11 days. Look, here's the thing. Whether or not Hunter Biden is guilty of lying on his gun form, frankly, I don't care. What you will have right now is you will have a lot of people on the left who are going to tell you, they're going to look you in the eye from their newsroom, from their cushy newsroom, and they're going to tell you and lie to your face. And they're going to say, how could there be a weaponization of the Justice Department when Joe Biden's own son is on trial right now? They're going to tell you that. And it's not just going to be CNN that's going to tell you that. It's not just going to be MSNBC that's going to tell you that. It's going to be Fox News too. I'm willing to bet. Even Fox News will say that if they haven't already. Why? Why are they going to tell you this? Because they have a shallow outlook to try to believe that the presidency and Joe Biden's administration wouldn't stoop so low. However, if there was not a weaponization of the Justice Department, if we actually had the scales balanced as they're supposed to be, then we wouldn't have Hunter on trial for maybe lying on a gun form. No, we would have Hunter on trial for his Burisma holdings. We would have Hunter on trial for corruption. We would have Hunter on trial for everything, maybe even prostitution, solicitation of prostitutes, for possession of drug use, or for possession of narcotics. For so many other things. It wouldn't be about lying on a gun form if we had balanced scales. But we do not have balanced scales. We don't even have a balanced media because it's so much further into here. You have to scroll a lot more before you realize the big part of the trial today, which was not about the opening statements and the narrative. No. The big part of the trial today is, remember when places like the Associated Press told you that the laptop from hell, Hunter Biden's laptop, was in some way Russian disinformation? Remember when they told you that? Remember when you got banned on Twitter? When it wasn't owned by free speech Elon Musk, when it was owned by hermit crab, I don't know why I call him a hermit crab, but the weirdo Jack Dorsey. Remember when you got banned for saying that the laptop existed? Well, now, we already knew. You and I probably already knew. We knew that the laptop existed. We knew Hunter was a weird guy and that he did a lot of weird things and that the laptop probably existed. But now, it's not until you scroll and really look to see that it was actually confirmed even further by one of those that was giving an FBI agent that had seen it. They knew the laptop existed the whole time. Prosecutors on Tuesday spent hours on Hunter Biden's drug problem using his own words and missives to show the depth of the addiction and to suggest it was still ongoing when he bought the gun. They showed jurors his old laptop computer, the same one he left at a Delaware repair shop and never retrieved. In 2020, the contents made their way to the Republicans and were publicly leaked. Oh, it's Republicans' fault, revealing highly personal messages about his work and his life. He has since sued over the leaked information. You left the flipping laptop. You idiot. You left the laptop, Hunter. You left the laptop. You left it. You left it at this point. You forgot it. Why? Now, I don't know. And so for legal reasons, I'm going to say allegedly or that I don't know. But probably because you were high on crack. or coke or whatever you were doing that day. Or you had an appointment with a prostitute. Who knows? But isn't it crazy how the Associated Press, a once well-respected journalistic source, says their whole thing is about how they're trying to make him look like a drug addict. When in reality, the big portion is that an FBI agent read aloud messages stored on the device that chronicle a desperate effort to buy drugs. They're trying to make this 50-some-year-old man, Hunter Biden, they're trying to make him seem like, oh, this poor man that's just afflicted with addiction. This poor, poor man. Poor Hunter. Poor Hunter. Poor you, Hunter. You're just afflicted with addiction. Those evil, evil Republicans violated your privacy by getting a hold of your laptop, which, don't worry, we called it Russian disinformation. We said it. We said it's Russian disinformation. Just to lie for poor old Hunter so that he doesn't have to actually own up to the consequences of his actions as like the biggest Nepo baby to ever flipping exist. And if it seems like I'm mad right now, that's because I am. If this doesn't piss you off, I don't know what would. You don't have to be a Trump supporter. You don't have to be a conservative to see that this is ludicrous. The way that the media is treating him as if he's just this poor, poor child being attacked by the evil Republicans for being a middle-aged drug addict and a child, or at least having radically childish behavior. Radically childish behavior. It's so, if that doesn't piss you off, I really don't know what will. But don't worry, even coming to light all over social media is the fact that Hunter obviously had an affair with Bo's wife right after Bo died, which is just creepy and weird in and of itself. But did we ever find, this is a great question. This is a digression from the point, but a great question. Did they ever find out who left the coke in the White House? No. But that's because we all really know anyways. Jim, we know. It's a mystery. Get Scooby-Doo on that one and see what ends up on his nose. I don't know. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Yeah, he's going to be snorting that coke. Oh my gosh. You guys get me. This is what happens when I go live on a Tuesday night. But you'll be interested to hear exactly what happened, because this is what the Associated Press won't tell you, along with the Biden laptop and it being actually confirmed. They also won't tell you what Hunter Biden's wife had to say outside of the courtroom. This is fascinating to me. Hunter Biden, who once again is on trial for falsifying a record, or at least an application for a gun. We get this. We get this from his wife. She screams, "You Nazi piece of S." Hunter Biden's wife berates a Trump ally outside the courtroom. Hunter Biden's wife, Melissa Cohen Biden, lashed out at former Trump White House aide Garrett Ziegler in the hallway. So, like, we're not even just talking about like a Trump supporter who was outside the courtroom. No, Garrett Ziegler, who was a former White House aide under Trump, was in the hallway of the courthouse where her husband is currently facing charges stemming from a 2018 gun purchase. During a break in the proceedings on Tuesday, Cohen Biden reportedly approached Ziegler and scolded him. This was shared on, we can see here by Sarah Fitzpatrick on, but who's an NBC reporter. Says on X, she says, "I witnessed a dramatic moment a few minutes ago in the hallway outside the courtroom. Hunter Biden's wife, Melissa Cohen Biden, approached former Trump aide Garrett Ziegler and said, 'You have no right to be here, you Nazi piece of S.' Ziegler did not respond to her, but told me after that, 'For the record, I'm not a Nazi. I'm a believer in the United States Constitution. I haven't said one thing to them.' So, of course, tensions are high when it comes to the Biden family right now. Quite high. It's also interesting to note that the woman, and this is not mentioned in this article, I just find it important to discuss, is that the woman who was formerly Beau Biden's wife before Beau died, and then also became a brief affair stint with Hunter, and then also allegedly became addicted to crack after her stint with Hunter, was visited just within the last week by Joe Biden prior to her testimony that I believe is supposed to happen tomorrow in the Hunter Biden case. Very interesting to know that. Wonder what was said in that visit, the purpose of it, and what will be brought up in the courtroom. We're going to cover it here on Speechless. And so make sure that no matter where you guys are watching from, you check out at Speechless Kev on YouTube. All you got to do is Google Speechless with Kev. And you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. But when it comes to this story, like I said, this is not about Hunter and his gun charge. This is so that you can be given the full sense of security that the justice system still works for you and not for Joe Biden and whatever he wants. They're going to put Hunter through this trial, which is the least of the crimes I am sure that he is guilty of and should be on trial for. But we'll see. We'll see. But I believe that this is for the purpose of making you think and brainwashing Americans into still having full and complete faith in our justice system, and that it's not in some way being used against the current frontrunner for president. I don't know, though. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to Biden himself, and that's why I want to bring up this next story. Biden, the administration, hands out millions of work permits to new illegal immigrants despite a 180-day waiting rule. This is out of the Post Millennial, which does phenomenal work. Excuse me. I talk really fast, so I can't always get everything out. Before I do get to this next thing, I do want to talk. Michael Badger has to say, if a Republican had put cocaine in the White House, they probably would have jailed whoever was responsible in 2 seconds. You're absolutely right. And this is why I know that the scales are not even. The scales of justice are obviously tipped in one way. And it's Hunter's coke that is making those scales uneven. Let's be honest. But let's get into this next story. Biden admin hands out millions of work permits to new illegal immigrants despite a 180-day waiting rule. A 6-month waiting rule for asylum seekers applying for work permits was implemented in 1996 by the Immigration and Naturalization Service. We see here, the Biden admin has granted federal work permits to over 3.3 million illegal immigrants, with many being given these permits before being granted asylum, a green card, or any documentation stating they can legally stay within the country, according to a Center for Immigration Studies fellow. This is despite a 180-day waiting rule. A 6-month waiting rule for asylum seekers applying for work permits was implemented in 1996 by the Immigration and Naturalization Services, but Biden has been slowly chipping away at this requirement under his term. Center for Immigration Studies fellow Don Barnett wrote for the New York Post. Barnett wrote, in a blizzard of rules and over 530 immigration-related executive actions, already blowing past the previously recorded compiled by Trump over 4 years. The Biden admin has expanded admissions or created brand new admissions pipelines under 8 distinct significant programs. Look, and here's the thing is, this is just part of a massive wave in which even, I believe, the New York Post, let me double check, because I didn't have this planned for the show, Biden amnesty. I believe Biden was planning on offering amnesty. Yes, I actually have it right here. Let's pull up this article. This is all, I'm doing this on the fly during the show. I don't know if that impresses any of you, but if you guys do a podcast on your own and produce it on your own, I hope it impresses you, because I impressed myself. But here it is. Biden admin offers mass amnesty to migrants as it quietly terminates 350,000 asylum cases. Sources. While the Biden admin is attempting to look like it's getting tough on the border, behind the scenes, it's operating a program of mass amnesty for migrants. Data shows that since 2022, more than 350,000 asylum cases filed by migrants have been closed if the applicants don't have a criminal record or are otherwise not deemed a threat to this country? Well, the thing is that we don't really know who a threat to this country is. And I'm not buying that Biden is actually doing the work, because we let people out on the streets. Look, the guy who killed Laken Riley had committed a prior crime and was let out. So I don't trust that the Biden admin is doing the vetting. Along with that, are we just going to let anybody who wants to come into the United States, we're just going to let all of them become United States citizens, even if they need federal assistance of some kind? Are we just going to let all of them? No. That is not how a government works. A country without borders is not a country in and of itself at all. And so we look at this and we wonder, hey, while the Biden admin, like, let's look at this not from a Politico. Look, I graduated with a degree in political science. I also graduated with a degree in marketing. I will be going to law school. But let's look at this as an average voter, somebody who doesn't necessarily have that background, somebody who is not a political activist, somebody who's not a Politico. Consider this. They see Joe Biden going out on their local city news. Let's say they're from Chicago. They're watching WGN, which is moderately liberal. It's Chicago news. They're watching WGN News at 9 because they got home from work. They're just trying to relax. And they're like, I should probably be informed on what's going on in the world. So they go in and turn on the news. And they see Biden with his steroids, shot in his ass. And they think to themselves, you know what? I hear Biden say he's really wanting to be tough on the border. And I like that. You know, we have homeless Americans that need our help. I want to be a supportive individual. I want to have immigrants. I want to be able to help people that are in war-torn countries, but we can't just allow anybody in. And that's what he'll say. And then they might never see a headline like the one that is right to my side here. Biden admin offers mass amnesty. They will not know. And then they'll also hear on their nightly news that Republicans are crazy for introducing a bill. Real story that actually is happening right now as we speak, basically. Real thing that's happening is Republicans introduce a bill that says, like, hey, let's not let illegal immigrants vote in our elections. And Democrats vote against it. They vote against it because they say that's already illegal. So it's redundant. But the thing is that in many localities, including in Washington, D.C. and others, they allow illegal immigrants to vote in local elections. So it is happening. And then along with that, it seems as though Biden wants to give illegals, he wants to bypass current rules to allow refugees and others to get work permits when they're not supposed to. He also wants to grant mass amnesty when he's not supposed to. So what's next? Let's just let them vote for me in 2024 because I'm losing. If you don't see what's going on, you're either blind by choice or blind because the media is good at what they're trying to do, being a propaganda arm for the current administration. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we are seeing. But we have other stories to discuss here too, especially even when it comes to Pride Month and wrapping some things up when it comes to Pride Month. We're going to talk about that and more in the last few segments of the show. We got a trans athlete coming up because obviously Biden has been very supportive of everybody that's going on, everything that's going on with the Pride stuff. So we're going to talk about a trans athlete just to show you how entitled these men who pretend to be women are. We're going to talk about gender insanity and CNN coming onto it about your 4-year-old and how the tide is actually turning. Maybe people are starting to actually wake up. Everybody, happy June. It's Pride Month. Here's a quick message once again from our sponsor so that I can breathe for a moment. Thank you. Of course, that's Freedom 2.0. You guys know them. If you know me, you love them. And you should also go get some. Don't forget to go to freedom20.com/USA and get yours today. I'd really appreciate that. You'd support me and you'd support creators like me. And you would be fighting against things like this next story. A transgender athlete who complains. This is just happy Pride Month, everybody. Just got to say that before we even get into the story. Happy Pride Month. Be proud to be an American and proud that you're not mentally ill like this individual. And this person is so mentally ill. So everybody, don't forget also to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. And I have somebody who found me based on my radio show on Cities 92.9, which I do have to say before I get into this next story. Everybody, if you could say a quick prayer for my my former manager, Megan, who passed away recently. I won't get too further into the details, but she was actually, I currently on my YouTube channel, I'm not big, I'm not massive, but I have like 3, maybe 4 people who subscribe to the channel and do paid subscriptions. And she was one of them, and she passed away recently. But I say that because it just shows how much she supported me and she cared about what I have to say and wanted to support me in that. So rest in peace to Megan. If you guys might not have known her, probably didn't, but if you did, say a prayer. So absolutely, I want to bring that up. And she would have laughed a lot at this next story. She would have loved it. That's why I'm going to share it with you guys too. It's a transgender athlete complains about the lack of sportsmanship. The lack of sportsmanship from fellow runners after winning a girls' state title. I wonder if we'll be able to watch this. It seems like they're going to play an ad first, but we can see right here. Let's see what this video is actually. Let's see if it's right here. Oh, there's a lot of different things it's going to play about, not just about this story, but Veronica Garcia, a transgender high school athlete in Washington who won the state championship in the girls 400 meter race last month, complained. Also, in case you don't know, 400 meters is a quarter of a mile. It's just once around a track, complaining about the lack of sportsmanship shown after winning the race and receiving a medal for it. Garcia of East Valley High School ran the race in 55.75 seconds, which is an impressive quarter mile, which was 1 second better than the second place finisher's time of 56.75, according to the Pacific Northwest Track and Field officials' track scoreboard. However, Garcia told the Spokesman Review the lack of congratulations from other runners at the meet somewhat hurt. I guess maybe I expected sportsmanship because I was cheering the rest of them on when they were called. So I guess I expected to get that reciprocated, but I didn't get that. This biological man who pretends to be a woman. I'm just a teenager. I wish people would remember that. Look, here's the thing is I will advocate for the fact that teenagers do dumb things. I was a teenager once. I did dumb things. But if your dumb thing is pretending to be a gender that you're not, and then not only just doing that, because even that you could be like, oh, I was in a phase. Like you have people that regret it later on and they've come out. Like you have oh my gosh, what's that one girl's name? I just saw her on Chloe Cole. You have Chloe Cole, people like Chloe Cole that come out and they're like, my God, I was a dumb teenager and I was taken advantage of. I was groomed into this. But you also have to recognize, like even I, who was a dumb teenager at one point as well, even I recognized that there is a level of unfairness and that people would be mad if a biological boy ran and then proceeded to win against biological women in a sport, even at the high school level. So when this individual comes out and says that they have issues and that they're somewhat hurt and that there should have been more sportsmanship, I consider it to be unsportsmanlike, Mr. Garcia, that you were allowed to compete and that you chose to compete in the first place. I consider it unsportsmanlike that a biological man who is in high school, look, I'm not going to say that a high schooler should have the same brains and same intuition as a fully grown adult. But I do expect more of them than I expect of a middle schooler, who I expect more than a elementary student. And I expect you to understand that people are going to be rightfully upset with not only your win, but also your competition in this in general, because I guarantee you. So let's look at this. 55.75 seconds. Now, let's Google right now. We'll do it right here. High school record 400 meter dash. We go boys high school records for the 400 meter dash. We can go right here. This is out of trackandfieldnews.com. I just Googled this right here. I hope you guys can see it. 44.69 seconds. Darryl Robinson, Indianapolis. This is from 1982. So kind of a long time. This is a long time. But that's the 400 meter dash. This individual's was 55.7 seconds. We go back to this right here. 55.7 seconds. A biological man who would have been less than, or who would have been an okay runner as a man, an okay runner, might have placed at some level, not maybe top 5, but might have been able to make it to maybe, I don't know all the times, but would have been decent, okay, mediocre. Now competes as a woman and he wins by over a second. So if we want to talk about sportsmanship, pun absolutely intended, Mr. Garcia, stay in your lane and maybe you'll receive the sportsmanship you deserve. Show it first and then get it back. That's what I'd say. And then with that, because obviously biological men should not compete with women. There seems to be a lot of these kinds of things that biological men should not compete with women. We know that just as much as if your 4-year-old starts talking about gender identity and starts talking about maybe I'm a different gender than I was born as. Maybe you should say to yourself, therefore, what do they know? But according to CNN, you should think something differently. According to CNN, if your kid just told you they're trans, here's what you should know. It should be a really short article. It should say, tell them you're not trans. Let's go to therapy. And not like validating therapy. Let's go to church. That'd be probably a better option. If your kid told you they're trans, here's what you should know. Go to church. But instead, this is an 8-minute read. So I doubt it says just go to church. And of course, this is CNN. This looks like it could be 2 women sitting together too. So we just know that I don't know. I'm guessing on that one. I don't know. Mary Hope Howland gave birth to a baby she thought was a boy. She just thought it was a boy. But at 6 years old, the child asked her questions such as, Mom, am I a boy? How do I know I'm a boy? Once I'm clued in, I said, the doctors make a best guess based on your body, but only you can know. And we love you no matter what, said Howland, now co-lead for Families United for Trans Rights, an organization of transgender kids and their loved ones. I know who, if I ran the FBI, which I should, it'd be a lot of fun. I know who would be on the top of my list. Right there. That's who. Her child's questioning did not stop there. It marked the beginning of a years-long evolution, not just for her son, who pretends to be a daughter, who came out as, quote, not, wait, this doesn't make any sense to me. This is what doesn't make any sense to me. We'll finish this sentence and then I'll explain it. Her child's questioning did not stop there. It marked the beginning of a years-long evolution, not just for her daughter, who came out as non-binary at age 8 and transgender at 10. So how is it a daughter and then it's non-binary, so you don't have a gender, and then transgender? It doesn't make any sense. There's no rules. The only rule to this entire ideology is that if I disagree with it, I'm a bigot. Reminds me, this is a digression, but reminds me of a joke I posted to Twitter earlier today. Everybody, stop your arachnophobia. Let the spiders get married. Stop your arachnophobia and let the spiders get married. That's what I always think when anybody calls me a homophobe. But anyways, nevertheless, it was also a journey for Howland and her husband as they navigated what it means to be trans, ways of affirming their daughter's gender identity. Again, reminder, everybody, this daughter is non-binary at 8, was questioning its gender at 6, now transgender at 10. The responsibilities as parent and the grief associated with letting go of one idea of what your life is going to be, Howland said. One of the hardest things for us to do as parents is pause when that vision gets interrupted and really listen to what our kiddos are saying to us. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to your children, but if your child comes up and says to you, Mommy, Daddy, I heard about this new thing. It's called alcohol. I would like to have some of it. At 6 years old, you might be like, okay, like have a sip of my beer, but that's it. You're not going to let them go get rip-roaring drunk. Or at least I would hope you wouldn't. You'd you'd have a conversation with DCFS if you did. But you're going to probably say no. Oh, but if your kid comes up to you and says, hey, Mommy and Daddy, I have this new thing that I heard about. You have to give me drugs, and then I'm going to chop off my pee-pee. I'm going to be a woman. And then you get to have a free pass to do whatever you want because you're an accepting parent of a trans child. What do you think about this deal? And the parents are like, I have to really listen to what our kiddos are saying to us. That's what they say, said Nova Bright Williams, a trans woman, so a biological man, who is head of internal training at the Trevor Project, which grooms children and cuts off and advocates to cut off their genitals, a suicide prevention and crisis organization. Suicide prevention? I'd like to see the numbers on that. I believe the jury's still out. Listening to a child's experience can be difficult for many parents, regardless of their political or religious beliefs, but there's good reason to try. Research is constantly showing that LGBTQ young people report lower rates. Also, who is this person to exclude the plus, the 2, the I, the A, the asterisks, and more? They're a bigot. But they report lower rates of attempting suicides when they have access to affirming spaces, communities, and adults. Look how they have to quote this person. They have to quote them because they can't actually cite a study that proves that. Just saying. They can't cite a study that proves it. CNN spoke with a doctor, gender rights activists, and parents of trans children about what to say when a child comes out as transgender. Happy Pride Month, everybody. If your kid says that they don't believe that they're the gender that they want to be, you're going to be a bigot and a child abuser if you don't let them transition. That's where this is going. And so we see in here, we see from what we saw so far, and they try to bring out a doctor, a gender rights activist, and parents of trans children, and it's all advocating simply to you even see the related article here, the case for saying pregnant people and other gender inclusive phrases. Yeah, no, this is CNN for you, everybody. This is CNN. Forms of gender affirmation. Not every transgender person feels the need for any and all forms of changing their gender expression of their body experts. When older children come out, they typically already have chosen a new name, pronouns, and more. So basically, this is not forms of gender affirmation. This is forms of entertaining delusion. Once kids reach adolescence, some experience distress over their body. I could tell you, or going through pubertal changes. This is the crazy thing. They say which can be relieved by puberty blockers. Literally every child that goes through puberty has a talk about your body's going to go through changes and you might feel uncomfortable. And look, I grew up with 2 sisters. I have a girlfriend. I've heard about this. And I've also experienced it myself as a man, but I know it happens a lot more with young women, is that everybody goes through some level of a discomfort in their body through adolescence, if not even persisting further. That does not necessarily mean, and if you go through this thing where you have a young woman who says, oh my gosh, what are these things growing on my chest? That doesn't mean that you should just, let's give him some pills and chop him off. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's much more common for a young person to have discomfort in their body than it is for them to take life-altering medications and also life-altering elective surgeries to change that. Dealing with friends and family. Oh, this is where they're going to talk. This is where they talk about how it has been difficult for our extended family, some more than others. Some of our family members have been accommodating. They've tried their best to use different pronouns. We've said our child comes first. We would love for you to be a part of their lives, but you can't call them by their dead name. It's too painful for them. So this is where they start talking about how do you deal with the evil transphobes like Kevin. If we centered them in conversation about our child, we would no longer be centering our child, the most vulnerable person in our family, and the person that we are lucky enough to raise. This is insane. A political lightning rod. Oh my gosh. This is just a long article. Let's see how it ends here. I say to her that it's my job to carry that right now, not hers, and that she's safe and we'll always do everything we can to protect her. Okay. Oh, wait. There's even a mention that a Delaware-based trans woman who's the first known transgender person to serve as a state senator is now running for Congress. So we actually might have a tranny in Congress. What I want to say about this whole article, because obviously I didn't read it all here. It's 8 minutes of your life if you read it entirely that you'll never get back. The thing about this article that I think is really important is that it stems based on a fear. So the entire idea of a lot of this stuff about like you need to let your child transition and that whole narrative, what all that stems from is this fear that, from my understanding, I'm not a parent yet, I'll admit, but I have parents and I know parents. There's a fear that every parent has that like they could lose their child in some way, whether that's metaphorically, in rebellion, or even the worst case scenario. And so what the left does with the gender ideology that's really sick is that it preys off that underlying worry, that underlying fear, and says you have to let them do whatever they want, or else you will lose them. And they say that. They say if you don't affirm gender, then they're going to kill themselves, that they will die. They say that. They say that in this article. I mean, like, you literally have this one person where they can't cite a single study, but they will say research is constantly showing. They can't actually cite the research, but they'll say it, that it does. This is what the left does, is they will prey on your deepest fears in an attempt to push you into their ideology. It's disgusting, but in many ways, it's effective, but not entirely effective, because when it comes to Pride Month, which we are currently in, we also see things that I would argue push an idea that maybe things are swinging back in our favor. And I talked about this. We talked about this with Breakaway USA last night on our Monday night show. about how some brands seem to not necessarily be talking about pride as much. And if not, they might have some products, but they're kind of separating it. It's becoming more taboo once again. And we even notice what is considered to be a pretty woke organization, the NFL. Some of those teams have been changing their tune. We look here from Twitter. This is N Wokeness on Twitter. The tide is turning. 11 NFL teams did not issue a Pride Month statement. We can even look at the infograph here. You can see many are crossed out. We have the Falcons, Bengals, Broncos, Lions, Browns, Cowboys, Packers, Chiefs, Steelers, Tennessee Titans, and New Orleans Saints. Now you can see when you look at the ones that did still make announcements, many of them are in more liberal areas and even more liberal states. Of course, you have the Chicago Bears. Indianapolis Colts is kind of one way or the other. The LA Rams, New England Patriots, San Francisco. Then you do still have Tampa, which did it, but I guess Tampa is considered more of a liberal area. Houston, more of a liberal area in a red state. New York, Buffalo, Baltimore, Washington. You guys get the gist of what I'm saying. Is that, but my point of what I'm saying is that we have like this. The NFL as a whole used to just be one big Colin Kaepernick and like woke organization, and every team in there fell in line. Well, look, it's still early, but usually it comes on June 1st. We have teams that did not necessarily fall into the pride agenda. So, are we swinging back? I think yes. Like I mentioned, Bud Light has yet to say anything. Target is drastically decreasing their involvement in Pride Month. And other companies are considering it inconsequential to pander to the most aggressive, but a small portion of the population. What do you guys think, though? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. So you need to take a quick sip there before we get to our last but not least story about the COVID origins. COVID origins, everybody. And as always, I know I just said it, but just another reminder, like this video. If you guys want to support the channel, you can do so by, if you're interested, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat, anything like that. I'd always appreciate it. I'm not going to beg, but if you want to help me get better equipment, be able to invest in a computer that I can use just for streaming so that I don't freeze up like I know I have been, then please consider Venmo, Cash App, anything like that. I'd really appreciate it. Super Chats, subscribing to the channel, anything like that. I'd very much appreciate it. If you have story tips and you want me to react to something, email me, speechlesskp@gmail.com. And as always, like, subscribe, share, and comment. I'd appreciate it. But let's get to the last but not least story. And also comment, because I can get to some of those if you guys have any questions or thoughts. I'll get to those before I totally end the show. But let's get to this here. Problem solved, everybody. The View. Our beautiful women at The View who have a collective single brain cell. They have determined that COVID's origins wasn't in this country. Out of the Daily Wire, our lovely ladies, after much discussion, the co-hosts of the ABC's The View have determined the origins of COVID-19's pandemic. It was not in this country. And Joy Behar even said that she'd heard somewhere that it might have come from a lab. Maybe? In a segment from Tuesday's live broadcast, years after most Americans have determined that COVID had most likely leaked from a lab, she comes out, or all of them, most origins in an attempt to attack Republicans. The co-hosts embrace the pandemic foreign origins in an attempt to attack Republicans for continuing to question roles played by American officials like Dr. Fauci, who, of course, was being questioned earlier this week by Congress. Why don't we just, out of the mouths of babes, let's take a look and a listen to exactly what they had to say.
This is something that she said that I think is just hilarious. She has publicly questioned this. If the Earth spins at 1,000 miles an hour, why can't we feel ourselves moving? She's really dumb.
Did she say that during a committee
She's
meeting?
dumb. It's a quote. She's really stupid, you know, and so disrespectful to Dr. Fauci.
Oh, so that's them going after Marjorie Taylor Greene and saying how stupid that Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Wow. But then we get to things like this. We get to videos such as Sunny Hostin right here talking about COVID. Here's this one.
And the other thing that I will just say is 15 months of an investigation. We have real problems in this country. 15 months of an investigation, spending real taxpayer dollars, really, really just gets to me.
Yeah.
And I think that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people need to start doing the work of the people as opposed to try to send these messages. They say that they cannot find out what happened here in the United States in terms of the origin of COVID. Well, maybe because the origin wasn't in this country. Maybe it was in another country, and maybe they need to now start looking for other countries.
Can we
came out of a lab.
this other thing out too?
Maybe it came out of a lab. You want to know who that Joy? Did you guys hear that at the very end? Just one more time. Just listen.
For other countries.
Can we
came out of a lab.
this other?
Oh, it might have come out of a lab. Oh my God. Joy. Earth to joy. You want to know who's been saying that for a long time? The Republicans that you relentlessly attack for being evil conspiracy theorists. Evil conspiracy theorists. That's who've been saying things like this. And then you have people, this is again after they go after Marjorie Taylor Greene for being just so stupid. Then you have Whoopi Goldberg, who honestly, what has she ever done that's actually, she's not really funny. She's never been in really a funny movie. This is her also being stupid as well. This is why I say they have a collective singular brain cell.
Out of a lab.
This other thing out too. Real people died during this. This was not something people made up. This was not something that, people were fooling around with. So if you're concerned, because I listened to a bit of it, this is why I don't turn the television on, because all I want to do is put my...
Scream.
If she doesn't turn her television on, she probably doesn't also open a book, a newspaper, or read. Maybe she doesn't even know how. Maybe that's why they don't use a teleprompter on this show, is because they know that Whoopi Goldberg wouldn't be able to read it.
My foot through the TV because I don't understand. Real people died.
Yeah.
Families lost lost children, lost grandparents. And you're questioning the validity of this thing, saying people made it up and this happened.
No one, see, that's the stupidest thing, is no one is saying, Whoopi, no one, at least no one that I know, no one is saying that COVID is entirely made up, that it never actually existed. No one like that I actually take seriously. No one's saying that. What people are saying, though, however, is that they falsified numbers, which is verifiable, that it came from a lab, which is not 100% verifiable. I can't say that legally, but when you have gain of function research happening at United States funded and COVID and Dr. Fauci approved labs, it would make sense. I mean, it's the most logical. It's more logical than a bat or a pangolin in a Chinese wet market. Like, the lab theory makes a lot more sense and has been pretty much as verified as possible. And nobody's denying that people died. Many people said when you have at-risk communities, people that who are older, who are also more at risk of dying from things like pneumonia or the common cold or the flu. Yes, those people should take precautions. But we're going to question Fauci when he admits to pulling out the rules of 6 feet apart and masking. He pulls those out of his butt. And expects, and then also because of recommendations that he made, indoctrinated entire generations multiple generations, entire populations into fear for the rest of their life. I still see people wear masks where if you look at their box, they say, will not protect you from COVID-19. And yet you still have people like Whoopi Goldberg, like Sunny Hostin, like Joy Behar, who are like, maybe COVID came from another country. Maybe it came from a lab. Maybe it came. Okay. My God. All of the hosts of The View should star in the next remake of Forrest Gump. And this is honestly, that's a great argument. I'm going to make it real quick. We're doing a lot of woke remakes of movies and stuff. We made Snow White a minority who, when even in the Brothers Grimm, it says that she's pale as snow. That's how she gets her name. With Ariel, who was known iconically for her red hair and being like a young white woman. Now she's a black woman. With the Ghostbusters, who became all female. Why don't we just make a Forrest Gump? Great movie. Came out in like 95. Beautiful. Or maybe 94. One of the two. Amazing. Amazing movie. What if we just make Forrest Gump for women? For past their prime women who talk incessantly about things they don't know about. I think that'd be a great version. I would love to see Forrest Gump, where Forrest Gump, the role of Forrest Gump is played by Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, and the rest of them. I think it'd be a great movie. I'd love to see it. If I had the money, I'd pay for it. I'd love it. But what do you guys think? Maybe I'm totally wrong. Are the women of the View actually the thought leaders of our time? Am I just an evil sexist bigot? Is that what we're at, where we're at here? I don't know. Maybe. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'm not going to say that one out loud because I've already been canceled enough today on today's show. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget, even if you're watching this after I went live, you can still like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. Please do. Leave me a comment. I always like seeing what you guys have to say, and I try to respond to as many as possible, especially if you disagree with me. Share this with people that disagree with me because I will love to see what they have to say. Subscribe, like I said, like this video, all that fun stuff. And until next time, God bless you, God bless America, and thank you so much for watching Speechless.